I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, in case you didn't know, the Tri-Creek School Corporation of Students, Staff, and Community endeavor to be
a recognized leader for high achievement
and exceptional growth.
Innovative and equitable approaches built upon
strong community pride,
and provide all students with well-rounded educational experiences to prepare for future successes.
Engaged to learn.
equipped to achieve,
empowered to succeed.
already. Thank you guys for everybody coming. Welcome. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Anybody? Already.
I stole them.
Are those all open cabinets?
Yeah, there's no.
Okay. None of these are for agenda related items, right?
Gina, Danny, are either of you on? Do you want to speak on agenda related items?
Or is
I
it-
don't know what the superintendent report's gonna be, so,
Okay.
no, not at this moment.
All right.
We'll call you then.
Alrighty. Moving on. Project update for Gibraltar Design in Skillman.
Yeah, so we've got our team here, and they're here to give us an update.
Alrighty.
So quick introductions, Jim Thompson, Gibraltar Design Architect, Mike Priscillo, lead architect, planner from Gibraltar Design, Chris Kinnery, Chief Education Officer of Gibraltar, Scott Sherry from the School Corporation, and Chris Chesney from the School Corporation. So we're pleased to be here. We're just getting started. And for members of the public, this is just a snapshot. It is not final, it's not, oh, we're doing this. It's just to give the board a snapshot of what we've been working on so that we can keep moving forward. And so we'll get started with, first of all, some of the historical timeline and things we're going to cover tonight. We are going to talk about making this building a 5-8 school for learning opportunities, how we need to reposition in the district the location of the central office, and then we're going to take a quick look at the campus planning and some of the things we're going to talk about in the upcoming month about the campus. So a little bit of a historical perspective. This has been seen before. The next slide will show us the sort of when this all started, big picture, what kinds of things do we need to consider. I don't need to read all of this to you, but there's lots of things. Probably most resonating in almost every community is, are we aligned with what we need and the cost, the financial prudence that the board needs to have to keep an eye on that. There are some big components to the initiative that the school board endeavors to improve the educational facilities and things for the community and the children. This is the short list, and the bullet points underneath help people to see these are the whys. If we're going to do this, the bullet points say this is why we need to do this, the importance. Everything that a construction manager and architect do with school boards and school districts typically needs to have a schedule so things can get monitored, and we need to read milestones so things happen when they need to happen and how they need to happen. So this is just a bigger view of how that will happen. Usually the most common question we get is, gee, when are we going to start to see construction and contractors and bulldozers and all those things that happen? Probably will not be until summertime in the early fall. So when we talk about creating grade 5, 6, 7, 8 opportunities in this school that we're in right now, we need to relocate the central office. So when we endeavor to do something like that, first we need to know how much space do we need to relocate, number of rooms, how big are each of those rooms, and all of that translates to budgets and costing. But this tells us that everything is accounted for in terms of what's going to get relocated. And then when we think about the best and most opportune location for the central office, previously we vetted different choices. and realized that the high school afforded the best opportunity for the relocation of the central office. And the circle there kind of represents the area we're going to be looking at, which is right here. This will also give you an opportunity while you're spending dollars to get learning opportunities and functions accomplished. You can then also change the way the building will look for the community and create that image of pride for Lowell High School. One of the other things that happens, a high school is like a city with lots of moving parts, lots of things going on. You have a hospital and a clinic, you have cars and buses and people walking, and all these different functions that happen, not 24/7, but even witnessed tonight at the middle school. You have things going on after hours, you have things going on before school. And everything needs to be safe and secure and thought through. So this illustrates where the main entrance of the high school is in blue. And then we have where we're going to consider putting the entrance for the central office. The red line indicates just one analysis we do to say, okay, if a visitor gets confused, doesn't know where the main office of the high school is, and they come to the central office, let's just say it's a rainy day, then the central office can contact the high school main office and say, hey, Mrs. Smith is here to see the guidance counselor. And that red line just indicates that the staff member will take that visitor through the building to the main office. Or, of course, you can always redirect the visitor around the building. But the point being is we know what's going to happen inside the building when we change a piece like the location of a central office here. So when we look at options, we have two options. We have, I would say, like our lead option one, which is how can we meet all the needs and get everything accomplished, and at the same time think about aspects of the high school that we'd also like to have, taking advantage of moving the central office to the high school. So right-sized media center. So media centers today aren't nearly as large as they used to be even 5 or 8 years ago. So we take some of that space and use it for the central office. But probably two of the things that are really nice for this community and this high school is, first, you have some very small, not very functional restrooms. We're going to do right-sized restrooms for the public, but also during the day for the students in a busy part of the school. And when we do a boardroom and a conference room during the daytime, that can be a group meeting room for students. It can be used for staff. You can have business leaders come in and meet, and it's in a great location, right where the main entrance of the school is viewed from the street corner. Does not preclude and replace the main office stuff. The main office still exists. And then we have in our hip pocket, so to speak, what it would look like. Well, this is just sort of how, when we do this from a technical standpoint, there are some floor elevation changes, and we're probably going to end up making the building a little bit taller on the outside to get the roof line corrected. All of that adds to the visual that you would have changing the exterior appearance of the building. Now I think we go to option two. Think of this as, we'll just put this in our hip pocket. It's what would we do if we did not change the floor elevation changes or raise the roof and created maybe the secondary entrance here and a primary entrance here to the central office. We just sort of, what the advantage of options do is it helps you know that the one you're choosing is the best one because you've looked at it from different perspectives. And as I mentioned, when we do functional change, and then that can add to the other goal, which is to change the image of Lowell High School from the street corner, you can see this is what you have. Very low, very long and linear, somewhat monolithic in its appearance because the white just goes on and on and on. When you come in and do something like this, which would be like an entry and the new central office area, it immediately attracts your attention, creates a focal point, and some would say like it starts to create the brand of what you represent. And then there's just studies of different ways that can look, and we're just getting into the beginning of that. And here's some of the work we need to do to finish vetting and analyzing this relocation of the central office. let's transition to the campus. As I said, small city, lots going on. Some of you, if you live it, either as staff or as parents, you know all these different parts and pieces and one-way drives and location athletic fields, and not enough parking in one place, but maybe too much parking in another place. So what we do is say, okay, what are the main goals? Start to make a partial list of things we need to resolve or pay attention to. And then we go to the next slide and start to say, here's a viable solution, like a master plan. I say master plan because at this point, nobody knows exactly how the budget aligns with what we want to accomplish. But we try to put all the pieces in the right place. And then if we don't do a small piece here this year, we do it in 3 years, we know where it's supposed to go. So you create this drawing that illustrates all the different pieces, things that have moved, such as tennis courts, baseball fields repositioned, more parking in the right places on campus. Then we go to say, okay, if we do that, what happens to circulation? So how do the buses travel on the campus? How do the cars move on the campus? How do people walk to and from events like football games, the Inferno, and we analyze it, look at it, say, is this working? What parts are working, what's not working? Other aspects, when you start about the big changes, so we have, for example, if we're gonna do a new pool, or we're gonna change this that we just talked about, we start to make notes and start to address some things we need to talk about these things. And that's what we're ready to do here in the next couple of weeks. Then you start to look even more specifically, like, here are the things that happen with the football stadium. Here are the things that happen with softball. Here are the things that happen with tennis. We make all these notes that account for all the different things we know from experience in the last 30 years planning high schools such as this, so that we can validate, yes, everything is where it should be. And then I call this like living the plan. So if we put all those pieces together that we've analyzed, you need to look at what happens when there's 2 events at the same time. Or what happens when the buses are coming and the students are also coming on campus. Or what happens on a Saturday when we have 2 sporting events. And you start to put all those pieces and look at them overlaid with one another. So that's where we're headed with analyzing the high school campus. And then this school board and this school district educational leadership has done a lot of analysis on how to maximize the opportunities for students. And one of the things that really excites Gibraltar Design is we don't work for everybody all across the state. We jump in at every opportunity to work with districts that are really creating a vision for the learning opportunities. Because as much as we're architects and love buildings, at the end of the day, we want the students in Indiana to have the best learning opportunities possible. This initiative is, in our opinion, moving in that direction. You have some representatives that are going to help to continue to put the plan into place for a 5-8 school or a 5-6, 7-8 school. While that is happening educationally with programs and instruction and learning and all the things that go on that are most important, then Gibraltar, like the next slide, our company with the Skillman Corporation needs to start thinking about this list on the right. So how are the buses going to work? How are we going to separate offices? What things can be together to help the district save operating costs so that we can put more money into the classrooms. So that's what this list starts to do, and then we need to apply it to the existing building and start putting changes into the building. And members of the board, over the next couple, 3 weeks, these are some of the things we're going to continue to be working on. Appreciate your time this evening. We're off to a great start.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
It's exciting.
And then intermediate school, so that would be Kevin
Okay.
and Chris.
All right, the intermediate school planning committee update?
Yes, so as you saw on the slide previously, all of the committee members have been recognized. Communication has gone out not only to our board, but to every elementary school teacher, middle school teacher. We've had the chance to share even at the high school. There was a really good cross-section of representation there of building leadership, teacher representatives, special elective teacher representatives. And it was kind of in a small font up there, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning that your planning committee is just that. It's the folks that are gonna sit at the table and meet on a consistent basis to drive the work of that planning. What's really important and that we've shared with our school community is that we want everybody to have a voice in this process. So that doesn't just limit ourselves locally to the folks inside of our buildings. That'll include students, that'll include our families, our parents, community members. So as that planning committee has information to report out, not only will it be communicated and shared in an update, there will also be those sessions to come in and share and gather feedback, take that feedback back to the table, leverage that, and then allow that to inform the planning that goes forward. The first steps that you saw up there is that some of the schools that I shared with you during the exploratory phase that are either new or solidified intermediate schools, I'm working right now to create those site visits. So we have our kickoff meeting. All of the planning committee members will know what the dates are of the first sites which are going to happen before spring break. The other big role of that is we're going very quickly to the end of this school year. So we're talking about what are the primary outcomes of this committee that we want to make sure we hit before many of our team members go on break for summer. So we'll hit those outcomes, and that will allow us to start thinking about then what are the outcomes when we have the full year ahead of us, what needs to take place with those that are still available throughout the summer as well. So it'll be a lot of that mapping from the end in mind, for the steps that you need to get there, making sure the right people are in the places, and we've got the opportunities to do that learning, provide updates, and get feedback along the way. It's a very exciting time.
Thank you. Alrighty. Superintendent's report?
Yeah, so the last time that we all met, we talked about the organizational chart and how we'd get you copies. And then, so I had Miss Deanne print more copies, and I went to go say, where would this make sense to put in the binder? And it was actually already there. It's on page 21. And so if you need an extra copy, we've got them, but you do have them on page 21. The primary elections in May, it appears that the town of Lowell has no contested races, and so the sponsoring of the election will shift from the town of Lowell to the Tri-Creek School Corporation. We'll be sponsoring the May primary. On February 21st is the Indiana School Board Association's Legislative Day in Indianapolis. There are a lot of bills in play in the House as well as the Senate, and there are some items that are of concern to schools. The School Board Association is requesting for 2 board members to attend, the legislative liaison, which is Mr. Hayden, and board president, if possible. Your board president thought he was available, he no longer is. I said, I'll jump in. And looking at my calendar, I have some meetings that I probably should stay around for here, unless, if somebody else could join Bobby in Indianapolis.
I could go. Doesn't matter, I don't know.
I am too, but I can't.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors.
You'll have 2 people there. so.
She can take it. We'll make sure
We'll talk
2,
about it.
we'll make sure 2 people are
All
there.
right. Perfect. And Mr. Hayden, you're still good to go? Okay. It's down in the morning. I do believe they feed you lunch and a mileage stipend, and you'd be headed back that probably late
I
afternoon.
think there's even a breakfast.
Okay. If there were a breakfast,
If I'm
you would
going,
have
there's
cleared
better
your
be a
calendar.
I don't do anything without.
I think it's 5 of us go. you throw it
Right?
back.
Exactly. So that's the superintendent report.
Staff recognition?
So staff recognition, we had one this past week, and getting
We got
connected
video?
here. We do have video.
Oh, man.
Mr.
I'll prepare myself so I
Glassman,
don't jump.
I might need some assistance here.
Here, let me.
Just did that. Yeah, there it is. You have the magic touch.
I was to say, you don't have the magic touch.
There we go. Thank you.
So you got scared when you came over here. And you still got it broken.
Don't walk away too soon. Unless it's just delayed response.
I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Why is
Because
that?
that's how I would be in that position.
Thank you.
I think it helps if you tap it on the table.
Technology.
100%, like,
Yeah.
that's easy.
Just restart it.
I'm feeling even better now.
Just reenact it. That's
All
choices.
right.
That's why I was carrying regular pictures.
Yeah, let's see.
About it. Great schools, great staff. Hey, hey, hey. Attention, attention. Hear all about it. Great schools, great staff. Hey, hey, hey. Attention, attention.
This is
Hear all
Michelle
about it.
Nichols.
Great schools,
She
great
teaches
staff.
kindergarten at Lake Prairie.
Last year, she worked with an education professional teacher who graduated in 2022, and for those 5 years, studied elementary education. This LHS graduate is beginning her career with a tremendous head start after being able to learn and grow over time. This year, Ms. Nichols has a junior education professional student in her classroom 3 mornings a week. This student has also been awarded the unique opportunity to watch a seasoned and passionate teacher in her practice. When I've been able to visit Ms. Nichols' classroom to watch her education professional students in action, I'm continually inspired to bring many great examples of student-centered learning, differentiated instruction into my own classroom and my school. Ms. Nichols really is an example of continually learning her best self work every day. Her job is undoubtedly stressful, but her students and my education professional students would never know it because she approaches each and every learner, task, and obstacle with grace. So Ms. Nichols for being an inspiration to both prospective educators and other educators like me. When I say hit it, you say hooray. Hit it. Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
Hopefully you could hear that. If you had a hard time hearing the gist of that, so Lindsay O'Neill from the high school is in charge of or oversees the ed professions class where the high school kids go. And she was giving great accolades to the work of Michelle Nichols. Did I say Collins earlier? Michelle Nichols in the work that she's doing with those high school kids. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love seeing those.
For the high school students also.
yeah, and that's our staff recognition.
Alrighty, thank you. Keep them coming.
Yep.
Board member report?
I have a report.
Perfect.
As a member of the board, I sit on the Northwest Indiana Special Ed Cooperative Board, and last night was my first meeting. There were several things that were eye-openers for me. The director, Jane Winkoff, who has been around for many, many years, is retiring at the end of this year on July 7th, will be her last day. That was a shocker for me, and I was prepared to vote against it, but her rationale for retiring persuaded me. But other areas that affect our schools specifically, we have 2 retiring special ed. One's a teacher and one is a paraprofessional that's retiring at the end of this school year. And then there was a recent resignation that just took place effective February 3rd. My first inquiry was, are we going to replace them? And they are searching to replace all 3 appropriately for the timing. We went over a lot of Neola policies, which align to what we do and all the other districts do, so it was just keeping everything somewhat consistent, which is good. And then another shocker was that each school district in Lake County, I have to keep remembering where I'm at now, not in Lake or Porter County, but in Lake County, it's comprised of each school district, and we learned yesterday that Maryville is pulling out of NISEC. So that's gonna I thought it would be a traumatic thing, but it actually is favorable monetarily. It'll help save money for us and open up spaces for us to put kids in placement there if the need arises. So it's an interesting evening. That's it.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Anybody else? Alrighty. Regular business consent items. Approve the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, January 26, 2023.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by saying nay. Motion passes. That's still hard to say. Approve the payroll and claims.
Make a motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Personnel, approve the personnel report dated Thursday, February 9th, 2023.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. All right, district operations. Number one, approve the proposal from the Turanga Surveying LLC of Munster, Indiana to complete the topographical and engineering survey for the Lowell High School campus.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So we do have Mr. Cherry here tonight that's very familiar with this contract, and he is available for any questions.
That's one of my questions was, did it come through you guys? Is this a company that you guys
Yeah.
work with?
We've worked with Turanga, Gibraltar has worked with Turanga, they have a lot of experience in the same type of work we're doing here for the engineering portion. They're doing the survey and they'll also be doing the engineering, which is ideal. So we worked with them in the past and they're very good kind of engineering.
Do they do the soil borings?
Soil borings, no, we're working on that. Once we get the surveyor, we're working on getting it located where we want. And the soil borings will be coming shortly.
Right, it's essential we get that done prior to any advancements in our planning, because that determines what
For sure.
we can and cannot do.
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Number two, approve the request from the Lowell Middle School to transfer $2,500 from the ECA bookstore account to the ECA student activities account.
I'll make a motion to transfer the money.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This is just a procedural thing here. Throughout the years, we've accumulated some profit, which you shouldn't in a student bookstore thing, but this comes from years ago. We've been sitting on this money, so we'd like to put it to good use and give it back to the students through the student activity funds, which the principals will manage and do celebrations or things like that. So it's just a procedural thing for State Board of Accounts.
Perfect. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Board policy, second reading and adoption of revised policy 2105, mission of the corporation.
Yeah, so this would be the second reading, and it is what it is. And if there's no objection, then we need a motion to officially adopt this in board policy. Keeping in mind it was adopted in our strategic plan. This is a formality to align.
I'll make a motion to adopt the policy change.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, consent items. Accept the donation from Eric Alexander of Lowell, Indiana in the form of a $20.80 check from the Costco Workplace, giving giving campaign to be used for any student needs at Lowell Middle School. Number 2, accept a donation from Diana Bogathy in the amount of $65 to be used to offset the negative student meal charges.
Can I make one correction on that? It wasn't from me, although I contributed, but it is from our central office and maintenance custodial Christmas party. We have a gathering every year, and we ask for donations to offset the student lunch program just when they attend. So that's what that's from. It's from the custodial, maintenance, and central office.
Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to take credit for it.
Number 3, accept a donation from an anonymous donor in the amount of $25 to be used to offset the negative student meal charges at Three Creeks Elementary School. Number 4, accept a donation from the Front STEM SPV LLC of Reston, Virginia in the amount of $20.80 to be used for the first grade student activities at Lowell, or at Oak Hill Elementary School. Number 5, accept the donations from Casey's Cash for Classrooms in the amount of $3.40 to be used for the Lowell Middle School needs.
I will always make a motion for donations.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Alrighty, public comment for non-agenda related items. Gina? Yep. And Danny?
I really have none. I was just gonna say thank you guys for your service. I generally know you only hear complaints. But I do have a question. How many students can't afford lunch? Like how, I see a little bit of the donations. Is that a problem?
I was gonna ask
I
that.
do have a report, actually, I asked for that today, so let me bring it up, because we made a transfer, and it's been challenging this year because last year and the year prior, there were free lunches for students completely across the state. So this is like kind of a challenge year to get back into that mode of making sure there's funds on your account and everything like that. So I asked our food service director how much was transferred, because we do that twice a year to wipe out all negative lunch accounts. So she said over winter break, the contributions from the Feed It Forward donations, that's what we call it, of $7,975.58 was transferred to student lunches, almost $8,000 at that one time. And we have about $2,800 sitting in the account. Now, these are donations that come from the public. We do get some at Christmas time. That's generally a giving time where they donate to the Feed It Forward kind of program. But this balance of $2,800 is quite low because that $8,000 was, it was a bumper move, a bumper transfer. It was pretty high. Normally it's about, I'd say about $2,000 or $3,000 that we do, $2,000 or $3,000. So this is part of that. Is that what we call the program? Feed It Forward.
What happens if there's not enough money to feed it forward?
If there's not enough money, we've got a procedure where we do send slips home and everything. Unfortunately, it does end up, after a couple different procedures, into collections.
Do we know what the current negative balance is at the buildings?
This was just transferred in January, so
Okay.
just right now, so we're kind of starting fresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know, so the student comes through, they never get turned away, they always,
Yeah.
and like a legit
At the
meal,
high
not
school
like a
level, they will start-
bread and butter in the water.
Right.
At what point do they switch from being able to get whatever the hot lunch is to, would they offer them like something
It's a
smaller?
different level by each, and I think it's actually about $20 negative, is
Okay.
what it is. They do, if they're at a negative, they won't allow them to get,
The extra.
extras, but they can get the regular thing. So it's when they start taking a double slice of pizza or chips and other stuff like that, and that's typically how they end up in negative trouble.
What does lunch cost now? Just curious.
Goodness, I mean, we're gonna ask
He's
them.
gonna stop by.
Well, I was
Cheaper than
They
McDonald's.
don't-
What day do they have fiestadas?
Elementary school.
How much?
$2 at the elementary school. Breakfast is $1.80 at the elementary school. Breakfast here is $2, and then it's like $2.40 for lunch here.
I'm going
So I'm trying to like picture.
But there is an age limit, 18.
They don't serve Fiestas anymore, so I'm not gonna.
I have kids that are very disappointed with the lunch service lately.
Right there. Alrighty.
Did you have anything else?
More on that, I just have questions. So, no kid gets turned away, how do they know their balances are down? How do you guys choose who's gets paid off? How, like, it's disconcerting to me.
We pay all of them off.
No,
We've
but
got
I
the
mean,
money,
there's gonna be
yeah.
an issue. I just,
We get a slip that gets sent home.
yeah.
There is an app and a web page thing, which the fees on that are kind of outrageous.
Of the mealtime, yeah, and we don't.
I know you guys
that's,
don't.
Yeah, that's.
So if we send in a check or cash to the school, there's no fee.
No, I meant the kids whose parents aren't paying, they can't afford it.
They get a slip sent
Oh,
home
okay.
for the elementary school. We get emails sent home for, I do it all the time because I just forget. Like, oh, yeah, you need one money. I get an email from the middle school, high school, I'm not sure of.
The question is, how do kids in need, how does that, there's just missing parts of how this works.
I will say this is gonna be a new endeavor, because if we don't have the funds to wipe all of them, because we've always done all of them, and
Yeah.
not, you know, not just select. We've never had to select, let me say that. So, we're hoping that we'll be able to get some donations.
There is a free and reduced lunch program
Yes.
for families that qualify for that and that apply for that.
Okay.
So there is, federal and state programs, but they have to apply and meet those financial needs. So there is that, and then there's, you know, what we're talking about outside of that.
That application for free and reduced is a part of like every required student registration at the beginning of the year. But you can apply at any time for that if there are changes that happen to the household. We actually encourage, because of what Ms. Bogey said, like when everything was free there, after we were coming out of the pandemic, we saw a decline in our free and reduced population, which we don't believe accurately represents the need.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pride that goes into filling out that form and requesting help, and we encourage, and I'm spreading the message now that there are a lot of benefits beyond just the meals that come with that. That's your textbook rental fees that go to those children. That is actually funding that comes to our school to support students that have those needs, and like reading intervention and math intervention. So that free and reduced application is really designed to do a whole lot of good beyond just the meals, but that's an integral part of it that I think we'll see start to go back up again now that those free meals are not a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, the next meeting, will be Thursday, February 23rd should be at 7. Alrighty. Anything else from anybody? Meeting adjourned.